Welcome to Women in B2B Marketing, a show where CMOs, VPs of marketing, and all strong women leaders in B2B discuss their top tactics, strategies, and tips for building high-performing teams, leveraging trends, and ultimately rocking their marketing careers. Made by and for women, insightful for all. I'm your host and 15-year B2B marketer, Jane Serra. Let's dive in. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Women in B2B Marketing. I'm super excited to have a listener on the show who it makes my day anytime a listener reaches out. So please DM me anytime. But today we have with us an amazing marketer, Irem Isik, and I'm not going to say her beautiful name as beautifully as it is, but I hope I did it justice. She's the head of marketing at Storyly. And she has a really cool story. She's ex-Unilever, ex-Nestlé, now in B2B SaaS with 10 plus years in marketing and CS, which I want to dive into. So thank you. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Jane. As I said earlier, it's a pleasure to be here as much as it's an excitement because, as I say, I love the initiative. I love the fact that I can also be part of B2B women, like leaders in B2B marketing as a woman. So definitely, it's a pleasure to be here and I'm looking forward to all the conversation we're going to have.
So am I. Thank you so much. So let's dive in. From listening, I always start out with just your journey into your current world of B2B marketing. And yours is really exciting coming from the B2C side. So can you walk us through how you got to where you are today?
Yes, of course. I was always into marketing from my education years, and I actually got a master's in Warwick. It was my first international experience back in the United Kingdom. And I ended up in Unilever, and I always call, and I still believe in that, especially when it comes to B2C, it's the Harvard of marketing. So I feel like I did my second degree in Unilever. I stayed there for 4 years. During my time there, I had the chance to work in two beautiful brands, which are like global love brands like ice cream, the Walls brand, as well as like Lipton, the tea brand. And while I was there, this is way back, honestly. So think about a period where we were literally building our own apps. That was this trend. You might remember every brand was trying to build in their games, their loyalty programs, etc., failing or succeeding. And so I was more into digital even back then in 2012, 2013. So I was leading the digital championship, so responsible for social. Instagram was the hype those days. So we were the first, for instance, in Turkey to use the story ads. It was just brand new. So like those short span attention catching ads were just coming out. So after that, I jumped to Nestlé, because I was just curious about what can be next after Unilever, what can really satisfy me. And after seeing Nestlé also, I was a brand manager there. I was also responsible for the youth brand Nescafe and mostly the communications part, the overall tone of voice, again, their digital footprint, which channels they should be owning, etc. And then it got me thinking, because these companies, these huge conglomerates, I shall say, they have all of these systems already in place. So it's very much difficult to make your mark. You exist in a system, you try to make a marginal impact, but at some point you feel like, okay, if I'm out of this equation, would anything change? It might be a bit egoistic also, I don't know, but I was quite curious about the startup world, and I had these friends who also started their own businesses, and I had this one particular who was working in this company that I'm in right now. And I was also thinking about a life change, about moving from Istanbul, as we spoke, like the hassle and everything. And this company's base was in Ankara in a cyber park, and it was a edtech company back then, Samurai Inc. So they had this edtech product, which was quite, I would say, abstract for me, for someone who was responsible for ice cream or coffee or like tea, just jumping into the world of a dashboard, business, all of those attributions or postback URLs or fraud or all of that language, let's say. But it was interesting because it was new and it felt like the future. It felt like a territory where I can challenge myself to grow more and actually lead the way for the marketer that I was in Unilever. So I could be the one who would leading the tech that would serve to them. And I knew them, the people that we would be serving in the edtech side. So that's how I jumped to edtech. But as you said, I jumped as on the customer side. So I didn't start from marketing. It was a career decision, and it was actually a big one, honestly, because it was, I think, a risk that I took, because I had this 6 years of marketing know-how and I invested a lot on it. And I think 4 years in Unilever counts to 10 years in marketing life, the amount of time you spend
I can see
in the
that.
company. But why customer side? It is because back then it was the available slot. And and they also told me, the founders also told me that would be very much difficult for me to market something that I really don't know that much, because it was difficult to learn from outside when it comes to tech. So when I started the customer success role as the operations director, I literally have to learn the product from scratch, like talk with the clients, understand their pain points, understand what they're looking for in our product, and talk in their language, start to build a new, let's say, word crowd for me, literally. So word cloud for me, because the things that I used to talk about in CPG, they were non-existent in the high-tech world. Of course, it was a edtech product, so I'm not really out of my league, because I am all in technology also as being a digital champion. But I had to learn a lot of things, and it was a huge exponential learning curve being in the customer success role. And then the company, Epsamura, is around more than 8 to 9 years now. It is actually a tech company initially, but now entered into MarTech SaaS territory like 4 years back with the product that I am currently the head of marketing, which is basically the Storyly product of the company is about bringing in the content experience, which we are very much familiar today, which is the full screen, interactive, personalized, shoppable content to your own platforms, be it your mobile app or your web. So for Storyly, I was here from the beginning, and I literally established the customer engagement team from scratch. So I did the first demos of the product. I did the first sales pitches of the product. So when I took the marketing role here, it was like I knew everything about the product itself in depth, and I knew the customers. So I know the best way to communicate that. And that's how it brought me to my role today, actually.
Yeah, that's such an interesting journey. And I have a million questions, of course, doing. I love that your focus now and into your role of head of marketing at Storyly is based on knowing your customers in and out. It's a theme I'm seeing and something I'm becoming just so aware of, or hyper aware of, that the need to know our customers and interview our customers, speak with our customers. I think it's a bad habit of marketers, to either our own fault or the company structure is prohibiting, but we stay far away from customers often. But making sure we break down those barriers and know, of course, the product 100%, and also the people that we are connecting the product with.
I fully agree. Yes.
You've been in two drastically different worlds, right? The huge enterprise, super enterprise companies on the CPG side, and the startup where you're the first one giving product demos, right? Which world are you more drawn to, and which one is more of a fit for you? And who do you think would flourish in either world?
Good question. Honestly speaking, I really like the path that I have chosen, because I feel like, because I also see a lot of people coming here, like new graduates coming in, going out, or like senior mid-managers having similar experience, or at least seeing other places, etc. So the reason why I say this is startup world is all about chaos. So there isn't a structure. So there aren't any systems. You have to adapt yourself, or you have to create your own system. You have to create your own way of doing things. So coming back from such a corporate background, which provided me with all that structure, I think it helped me a lot in my role here today. And it also helped me to make my mark, as I mentioned in the beginning, what my motivation in the first place, to see that my impact on the product itself, my impact on the company's brand itself. So I feel like that path made me flourish the most. So, for instance, right now, I cannot visualize myself in a corporate world. I feel like it's just way back, a different persona. I feel like it would drown me because of all of that paperwork.
The red tape.
I remember back in Unilever, for instance, our optimal time slot for bringing out a new product was 18 months. If you wait 18 months in a tech company, you are dead. So everything changes in a couple of quarters. Of course, those companies have also shifted their way of doing things to adjust to the new world. So everything has changed, of course. But I still have a lot of friends who are working, a lot of colleagues who are still working in these companies. So as I say, I think someone who is very much uncomfortable with ambiguity or who is looking for a proper system, who is looking for, let's say, more security, or let's say, who likes doing things properly, corporate world might be better for them, because here they might feel threatened, they might feel lost, they might feel like they might not be able to assess whether they're going in the right direction, because sometimes it's something difficult to have here. But as I say, in my case, it was like a great mixture of both worlds. So I had this until mid-level journey in Unilever and Nestlé, and I had this chance to apply everything that I have seen here to establish a system, both in the customer side and in the marketing side.
Yeah. I've seen firsthand at companies in the past where we would bring somebody into our small startup and the tech world, and they would come from a huge company. And it was just like eye-opening for them. And some people flourish and some people flounder, right? And they don't thrive in that chaos, as you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Curious, what do you think separates those that flourish versus those that flounder, transitioning from a huge corporate with tons of structure and you're a piece of this amazing system versus the chaos of startup life?
I think it's about expectations also, Jane. For instance, I feel like the people who flounder are the ones that are more focused on jumping up some career ladders, because what startup brings you is more other, let's say, accomplishment feelings. As I say, we have a very lean organization, for instance. It's not maybe possible for someone to jump the ladders of a career very quickly, or maybe not everyone can become head of marketing because there is just one position. It's not like we have tons of brands that would be lovely, obviously. So I think people in startups are looking for a story. So building a story, narrating a story, and feeling like they are part of that story, that success story. And also, I think there is also this thing when I am in Unilever, for instance, when I'm speaking with someone, it just opens doors for you. You are someone from Unilever, you are working in Nestlé. So automatically you can just speak with, if I write anyone on LinkedIn, working in Unilever versus working in a startup, it's
so true.
Totally different.
Instant authority.
Exactly. So the brand itself is authority. It just took me some time to adjust after that. Like when I say I'm working in App Samurai, I was like, who are they again? Is it a Japanese company? And obviously my surroundings, my network was made up of people who are all about like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Unilever, Nestle, or the four big like KPMGs or like PwCs. I'm a business graduate, so all of my colleagues or friends from school just went there, obviously. Back in those days where entrepreneurship was not that hype, we were all about, securing jobs there. But this is also, I think, something about the person. So if that person is looking for an authority like that or a class like that, so that person cannot be happy in a startup environment. And again, security part. So startup means risk. We can never know what comes out in a year's time. This company can also no longer exist. So that's why it's also about being able to take risks and being able to thrive in that ambiguous environment still.
Yeah. You have to be the type of person who thrives in that chaos, right? Who enjoys a little bit of unknown and figuring things out.
Mm-hmm.
What has been the most valuable lessons or structure or processes, anything that you've taken with you from your CPG experience and huge company experience into the startup world and B2B? Is there something that translates?
I think, as I mentioned, when I first came here, both on the operations customer side and on the marketing side, the first thing was people on the startup environment are all about taking action before thinking, acting, and then reiterating. And it sometimes is not feasible, or it actually is more ineffective than sitting down and making a proper plan. So I think that what just came with me was that strategy building and stakeholder alignment. In companies like Unilever, marketing is actually the business owner. So you are in touch with every department. You own the P&L. You speak with finance, you speak with R&D, you speak with sales, you speak with trade marketing. So even though they're not, let's say, reporting to you, you have to have an influence on every one of them and convince them about what you want to do. You have the power because you have the budget, you have the brand, you have the product, and you are on top of everything, but still you have those skills to communicate. So I think that's communication skill with different parties, with different, let's say, targets, with different priorities also came with me to my startup world. Even though it's a lot smaller, there are still different hats like VP of sales, like product, like our CPO or like our CEO. And especially in the marketing side, in a world which is dominated by engineers, stakeholder management and communicating the importance of what you do is very much critical. So I think that's another thing that came with me from my days in CPG. And I can count, like, as you also mentioned, being consumer and customer obsessed. So companies that I worked for, because it's CPG, it's all about understanding the customer. So it's all about vigorous research, tons of focus groups, or going through tons of ad tests, etc., to come up with the best, let's say, advertisement, best campaign, best marketing mix, best channel strategy that would serve for the people that we serve. So I think that also came with me. I always have this initial feeling that I have to understand who we are selling to, who we are targeting to, who we want to attract. So I think that's also something that I brought from the CPG world.
Yeah, I love that. So customer obsession, translating from CPG to B2B. I love that. I wonder, are there any systems or practices that you've taken to understand your customers so well on the CPG side that you've brought in? Do you do any focus groups or surveys, or is it one-to-one interviews? What do you do to learn so much about the customer?
Honestly, that's, I think, the pain point of B2B. That's how I feel at least.
No budget.
And also, the thing is, I don't know, it might be also just isolated to our case. It's just in our scenario, this understanding sits with product marketing and product marketing sits with product. And you actually get it from like the second hand or third hand. But what I try to do the most is, thankfully, we have recordings of everything on Grain, for instance. So what I do is I just sit down and listen all of those calls. And I try to understand if I can catch up, I don't know, a phrase that's coming out of the mouth of the potential customer who is speaking, which I can use afterwards in a marketing communication. The second thing is I'm a LinkedIn stalker. So I stalk our prospects as well. So I try to see what topics that of interest that they have, that they speak about, that they search for. And also some communities on Slack, for instance, and see what kind of, I don't know, for instance, in Ask and Receive kind of environments, like what they're asking for, what kind of services they're looking for, what kind of conversations they're talking about. So again, of course, none of these are as structured as focus groups, as structured as interviews, which is mostly done by product marketing. But I am trying to pick all of those and try to come up with the messages that would resonate or that would inspire the people that we serve. But I would say research here is, I feel like, the part where I feel the most vulnerable, because back in CPG, I felt like I had everything under my hands so that I can just plan vigorously based on that data, insights, and customer information.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know it seems like the main difference is really the size of the company when it's for such a huge enterprise and you have all of this data and this research and this insight at your disposal, which, God, I can only dream about. That would be so cool. But then in the B2B tech world where we're just more scrappy and startup, especially, you're finding ways to do it yourself, which I love that you're stalking your ICP on LinkedIn just to lurk and find out what they care about. I need to do more of that myself and listening to calls, sales calls, prospect calls, customer calls. I love that. So finding a way to get that research firsthand. Other than being more scrappy and finding ways to pull this data, I know that you believe that the marketing is the same, right? At the core of it, the foundation. I think I've seen you post that between B2C, CPG side, and B2B. Mm-hmm. Is it the same, or what I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do you feel? Is it different, or? Maybe your opinion changes day to day. Who knows?
Honestly, actually, I'm becoming more and more, I think, vocal about it. As the more experience I gain, I feel more, let's say, strong about this.
Yeah.
So let me take it like this. So let's simplify it like this. We are selling to people, right? So there is a certain ICP, certain people that we serve. This people that we serve thing is coming from Unilever language, by the way. That's what I have learned. So the people we serve, we say back in Unilever. These are the same people. I know, for instance, when it comes to CPG, you are selling to millions maybe, but still these people that we serve have their wants, needs, and desires. And again, coming to B2B, the same people have, we call it pain points. But still, these are human beings. So I think there is this underestimation or oversimplification that in B2B, the buyer persona makes every decision rationally. So that's why on the marketing side, we should always be talking about functional benefits, or we should be doing demos. We should be bombarding them with, I don't know, product-driven content, case studies, etc. But I think it's just that person is also an emotional human being. That person can feel connected to a brand, or that person can have some aspirations for themselves. And maybe that person can have someone whom they look up to, and they might see that person just using something. And just because of that, they can just go for it. Or they can establish some connotations with some brand, and that might be an irrational decision, but they would go for it. So I think that's why we see Monday.com ads in London Tube, for instance, or Monday.com investing crazy heavily on YouTube, or Matthew McConaughey being the face of Salesforce. So I mean, back maybe 10 years ago, it could have been like, are they crazy? They're just selling to a bunch of people and now they're investing millions in their brand marketing. But I think right now, that's what I'm trying to say in terms of like the lines becoming more blurrier, because back then, maybe brand marketing seem like a CPG thing or a customer B2C thing. But now I think it's becoming more and more important for B2B as well, especially in a day where we live in LinkedIn, where people branding is becoming more important than anything. So more and more, it feels like they are similar. Of course, the channels can differ. The strategies in the channels that you employ can differ, but I think the essence of it is quite similar.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because I didn't even realize until we're chatting about it now, but I think I used to see a clear differentiator or difference between B2C or CPG, or even CPG and B2C, right? And then B2B.
Right.
So those were just two different worlds to me, but you're so right. The past probably 4 or 5 years, and longer, but the past few years especially, it feels like because brand has become so much more prominent in B2B, thankfully, that line and that division is blurring. That I never put those two together, like the correlation. It's so true. As brand becomes more important in B2B, the line blurs, and we're becoming more B2C like. Interesting. So one thing I'm thinking of, one of the brands that you worked for was Lipton, right? Or one of the products that you owned from a brand perspective. I'm making this example up, so don't feel bad if I'm butchering your actual story from Lipton, but we are tea drinkers in my family. So I'm imagining one of the stories you would tell, right? Like you're selling the moment of sitting down at the end of the day with a cup of tea, right? And relaxing. You're selling that relaxing, peaceful, calm moment with your tea. So have you taken that kind of thinking of what you're actually selling, not the product, not the tea, and okay, first you put it in the mug and then you put the water and all the specifics. It's the moment of that feeling, right? You're selling that relaxation. Have you transferred that into Storyly and like the tech world, what you're actually selling, what feeling you're selling?
You are like music to my ears. This is all I want to do, actually. But I can give an example like this, because this is something that I've been trying to advocate internally as well. Like that feeling of what is the benefit that the emotional, not functional, the emotional benefit that we provide to the buyer persona of our product. So our product, Storyly, is basically used by marketers. And in a way, in our research done by product marketing team beautifully, what came out is that Storyly is actually making their lives easier, because normally it would have been, Storyly is a very, I would say, easy to use product for marketers. And marketers feel empowered when they don't have to speak with the IT department or speak with the product team when they're using a product themselves.
Yeah.
This is something that we try to take out from those interviews. And for instance, last 2 months ago or something, we made a test on website by saying we have all of those jargons that we use: boost engagement, boost conversion. Everyone is using the jargon that we all love, that no one understands.
Supercharged.
Yes, exactly. Those words. We have that as a control group. And we put also just make marketers' lives easier. It makes your life easier as a claim. And it worked beautifully, as you say, because it's probably just popped the memory in their minds. Okay, I will just breathe in, breathe out. There is this huge campaign that I need to communicate. I cannot reach to my UI team. They cannot change that banner. Okay, fine. Let's calm down. I can just log into Storyly, just make a story and then put it on, and it will be live in a couple of minutes time. So I can calm down. It will be on my website. I don't have to, I don't get yelled at by my boss of being late, etc. Okay, now I can end my Friday beautifully. So that's exactly the time frame. That's exactly the place that we try to appeal to. Or another marketer seeing this great real-time opportunity of Euro finals coming in. There is this, I don't know, a moment in the game that you want to share in your website or in your app with your users based on your selling point, etc. And yes, now I can do that. So this is exactly, I mean, it's not about the benefits, it's about the feeling of that marketing person. Now he or she feels relaxed because he or she can benefit. He or she can use this product and then sit down and be done with it. So maybe not that emotional as that sip or refreshment, but still articulated in a similar way.
Exactly. I just wrote down an idea you gave me for my company, Daxtra, as we were speaking, because it's so true. Because I think we're getting better at not being, like in general, marketers in B2B, I think we're getting better at not being so feature focused. And we're getting more focused on the benefits and the value. But there's a step further that we don't really talk about. It's like beyond the benefit and the value, how does that make the buyer feel? What does that do for them personally? Does it advance their career? Do they feel like emboldened or relaxed and less stressed? And what are we helping them do as people beyond just the numerical, right? Stats and benefits that we love to tout.
Agree. Yep.
So fun. Okay, I'm going to start thinking about this some more. That's just a great way to think about for B2B. And it would help us differentiate, right? Because other people aren't doing that as much.
And I think this is from Mark Ritson, if I remember correctly. I shared this like a couple of months ago. And also I think it's from, I forgot her name, but she's from, anyways, Spark Toro, about this.
Amanda.
I love her. Yes, I love her content also.
She's great.
And it's about differentiation. So I think today it's almost impossible to differentiate with tech if you're not a high tech, if you don't have an IP, if you are not, I don't know, if you don't have a patent, etc. So more or less, you will always have competition. But there is a reason why people choose, I don't know, HubSpot. There's a reason why, I won't give an example from tech, but there's a reason why Liquid that is growing, etc. It is about finding your niche, and it's about relative differentiation or a refreshing approach. We won't be saying something brand new or news flash, but we will have a way of saying it. We will have a way of addressing it. So I think it's also about the brand itself, the brand message. It's about, as you said, maybe that feeling that we provide, that refreshed approach that we provide to them about the problem that they're facing. So I think that's also very much important.
Yeah, I love that. Speaking of these ideas and getting more into the emotional side of things, what else do you see working right now for you? Are there any tactics or channels, or just continuing what we're talking about, focusing on the emotional benefits, right? But what's working for you right now, or what do you see working?
I don't know, maybe you have seen this also on LinkedIn, but I like this media company mindset approach that's becoming more and more popular. And the reason for that is, especially in B2B, I think one of the main differences with B2C or CPG also is that our sales cycles are long and the touch points that we have to have are tons. This media company mindset is basically about like buyers almost 95% are not actively looking to buy something, but they're always looking for ideas. They're always looking for content that think about yourself. Like we are all on LinkedIn trying to explore things, trying to learn new things, try to develop more skill set, try to be up to date, try to live up to the expectations of today's world, etc. So we all have these ambitions personally and business-wise. So this media company mindset feels like continuously preparing content in multiple channels on a top of mind awareness basis, like top funnel basis. It's not about trying to sell your product, but trying to, let's say, inspire, trying to educate. And also by owning that content, you would also own data because you will also know what your audience is drawn to. And you will also be able to target those people in different channels thanks to yourself having that media in your own platform. I think it's something that takes people out of their comfort zone because it requires you to continuously produce content. It requires you to have something to say other than the features and benefits of your product. You have to be a reader. You have to be curious. You have to be a vigorous researcher. You also have to deep dive into your own data, into your own customers to see if there is anything that you can learn from them and contribute to your community. So this is something that we are trying to do here, for instance. Last year, we established our own content hub. We created our own content hub called Snacks. And that's also how my video journey started. So the idea was this. So basically, we are advocating content in your own platform. And we are saying that video, short form video, interactive video, full screen content is something that you should have in your own platform, be it your app or web, especially for e-commerce and retail, because what we say is basically people are looking for social interactions everywhere. And the line between social and commerce is getting more blurry every single day. And we thought, why not create our own content hub of ourselves by our own product to show this? So basically, that's how we create Snacks with Storyly Stories. So with our own web stories, we created this hub where people can come and find and discover content of their own interest. So it could be something about Black Friday. It could be something about personalization. It could be something about an expert talking about like email marketing. So any kind of tips or tricks that e-commerce ecosystem would like to contribute to their community. And we put our own product behind it. So it's like product demo without actually demoing your product. So this is why we started it, the media company mindset, because everyone who came to Snacks, everyone who subscribed to Snacks immediately became like an email list for us, or they become people that we can actually address via Google retargeting. So everyone who come to our domain becomes someone that we can reach out at some point. So that's one thing I would say. It's quite new. It is, of course, it requires a lot of effort, a lot of time, but it opened the doors of a lot of networking opportunities for me. And I think networking and partnerships is the second thing I would say that's working for us, because let's say none of us have the resources to reach out to our ICPs. So that's why we have to help out each other. So that's why I think partnership in B2B is a definite must-have in your strategy. Also, something, of course, I would love to be able to do most, but I strongly believe in is also personal branding of the people of the company itself. Because as I say, people buy from people. And when it comes to B2B, I think it's becoming more and more important because the habits of people are changing. They're still maybe searching for your company on Google. And maybe you don't see LinkedIn bringing too many traffic to your website. But this is something, again, from Amanda. People are becoming more and more platform native. So they stay in, they check your LinkedIn page, they see your post, they maybe start following you. And then all of a sudden they come from contact sales, like direct traffic, but it's 100% attributable to something else for sure. So I really believe in that also. But I think it's a challenge for all marketers to get their founders to do things like that.
And it's I have so many questions that I've been jotting down. You're speaking my language, especially partnerships and content and personal brand. These are all things I preach as well. I was going to ask you on the hub side, I love that you're creating this. If you want to share the link with me, I can put it in show notes, and I'd love to just explore myself too. I know I'm not your target market, but it'd be cool to see what you're doing there and creating for some inspo. But are you bringing partners into the hub to create content as well, or is it just Storyly? Okay,
No,
partners
exactly.
too.
That's actually a door opener for partnership as well, Jane, because everyone is looking for a new channel to talk about themselves or talk about
Yes,
their expertise. So when we talk
especially
about
if it's
snacks,
free.
yeah, exactly. Same for partnerships, especially with maybe some consultants or agencies are never that free. But when we
Yes.
talk about this new channel that we try to distribute, that we try to influence more people, it just becomes a door opener. Okay, let's start with a video for snacks. Because what we say is we don't want you to talk about Storyly. It's not about Storyly. It's about
Yeah.
the e-commerce and retail community and whatever you want to offer to them. Of course, we have
Yeah.
topics that we would like to cover, but those topics are actually the topics that we choose based on our like buyer interviews or based on our customer talks, based on our research on the market. So
Yeah.
it's all relevant to their target personas as well. So I think Snacks has been, as itself, it was a door opener for partnerships for us so far.
Very cool. I love that. Have you also, with the personal branding piece, brought in influencers into the hub?
We try to, of course, as you say, nothing is free. Sometimes
Yeah.
I
That brings
constantly
up the
reach.
price.
Yep, exactly.
True.
Sometimes I reach out to people. They say they have a referral fee, they have a per piece fee, etc. We never
Sure.
did that, honestly. So Snacks until now has been purely, let's say, contribution based. And we
Yeah.
have, I think, around 100 videos right now on Snacks. And more than
Wow.
50% of it is actually coming from external audiences, like external
Very
partners,
cool.
customers, our webinars, let's say clips. And we're trying to grow that as much as possible. But yeah, paid
Very
parts, we
cool.
haven't done it. With regards to the influencers, I think there is a merit in that, but I think you have to have the budget. If you don't have the
Yes,
budget,
next
if you
phase.
cannot do, yeah, exactly. If you cannot do that on a long-term basis, having just one single content doesn't make any sense in B2B.
Agreed. Yeah. So you're in the proof of concept phase right now, like getting all the content together, building that audience,
Exactly.
low budget, and seeing what you could do. And then if it makes sense and you get budget allocated, then you can bring in influencers if it makes sense with your strategy.
I can also try to grow the community of Snacks. It felt like the first step of building a community for ourselves. And it felt that's our kind of like relative differentiation. We build it with our own product. So I think that's the gimmick in there.
Yeah. Very cool. So because it's within the product, okay, do you have a separate domain for this content hub or is it very closely tied to Storyly?
It's actually story.io/snacks. So it's when you enter the site, you won't see Story branding. It's just on the right-hand side, it says just go to Storyly. But other than that, it's all about snacks. And it's like a new brand. It's giant bit web stories. I will share with you the link afterwards. So you can just also share with me any feedback that you may have, please. Because as I say, it's literally a brainchild of our team. And it was like an internal effort of pushing to product team, just do this in whenever you have the time, etc. And once they did it, so we are trying to pump as much content as possible. We are using the product itself and also giving feedback to the product also, by the way, because now we are actively using the dashboard, etc. Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, I love that. Another big question. This is a big one. This is not an easy answer is how did you build or get buy-in from the exec team and alignment and backing internally for this project? Because like you've mentioned, this is not an endeavor that it takes a lot of bandwidth. It takes a lot of time to curate this properly as you're doing. And it also, unless there's a unicorn situation here, it doesn't drive immediate results in dollars, right? And pipeline. It's an investment. So how do you justify that to the exec team and to your sales team?
I would say it's not something that we did in one night. Ever since I started my position in marketing, and I also have this benefit of, I would say, trust within the company because of my position in the customer side.
There we go.
So they already knew me, my work. So they trust me, they give me credit. So that's why when I first came to the position 2.5 years ago, first I established the team from scratch also. So it took some time, etc. But before Snacks, I tried to also build this mindset for brand marketing, actually, Jane, because it was something that they were not at all in line with, I would say. They didn't believe in that because, as you say, especially when it comes to the dark social, it's almost impossible to attribute something to branding when it comes to B2B. So what we started to do is we started to put this, for instance, for the contact sales form, we started to put this like, where did you hear us from? And we started to see increase in social, even though the traffic coming to the website was not directly from social. I started to beg the dear sales team to ask their prospects where they hear us from. And it was a process. By the way, I never was able to convince the top management that they should be, let's say, present on LinkedIn. I also think, and I see their point, they are not that type of people, and they just don't want to seem also like someone is talking for them, because if I try to do that for them, then it will be not their tone of voice, but my team's tone of voice.
Inauthentic.
But I think, as I said, with stakeholder management, I try to build my case with examples. Back then, when we wanted to start snacks, we were seeing examples like, for instance, hockey stack with the flow, or lavender with the, I forgot the name of the lavender land. And of course, there are great advocates of this, let's say, this phenomena of being a media company. Like just a few days ago, I have seen Alex Lieberman, the Marketing Brews founder, talking about how this thing is something very much important for the B2B marketers of today, how content is becoming the crown jewel of, let's say, marketing. So I think that, and on top of that, this being very much relevant with our product itself, because we are talking about short form video taking pace when it comes to e-com, etc. So it just fits very well with the foundations of the product as well. For instance, I think I would not be able to convince them to invest in a, let's say, tool like Audience Plus, for instance, to do this. But because we build it ourselves from scratch, I gave the green light. Of course, as I say, no budget, but still, with its scope in our size, I feel like it would be something that I will be telling a lot as I proceed in my career. So I think that's the process.
Do you have any metrics right now that you are going, or goals that you're tracking towards? Not that I'm expecting anything immediately, but do you have anything in the future that you're kind of tracking towards?
Right now, we're looking like monthly impressions, the number of people who register to the newsletter. And also right now, it's a very much vanity metric, but the number of videos that we take from external audiences. And I think that one has been right now the number one priority, to enrich the place as much as possible. Right now, we have more than 100 videos in. And in terms of impression, of course, it's not high. Obviously, it's B2B. It's a channel that we don't advertise or we don't promote, but still, in the times where we have new content coming in and where we share this from LinkedIn through the also external contributors, we see like spikes of, I don't know, weekly 1,000 impressions, or like monthly 5,000 impressions, etc. But it's of course fluctuating depending on the amount of time and content that we put in. Right now, because it is like, as I said, there isn't any paid investment, we use snacks as a gate opener mostly for the conversations to start. But I think if we
ABM
grow,
tactic.
Yes, exactly. Because for instance, our BDRs also for events, by the way, Jane, because we also use events a lot. We invest heavily in events because we have local sales team. So they are present in the market that we want to gain market share. And we felt like it is, even though it's very expensive, still it's the one that's the ROI is the highest. Because when we have the chance to speak with people, we have the ability to get them excited around the product. Product is very much playful, that's why. But still, during the outreach, pre and post-event outreach, snacks can work as a conversation starter, because people are mostly unresponsive during event outreach because everyone is trying to track them down. But we reach out to them from a different angle, saying like, what are your thoughts on this topic? Would you like to be on snacks with a video? Of course, video is not something that everyone can do, but still, it opened some doors for us, or at least triggered some responses. So that's also how we benefit from snacks.
I love that idea. Where right now I'm very focused on ABM, as I've probably talked about too much on LinkedIn, but we're looking for ways to activate events, right? And pre and post events. So that's a great tactic to bring in. I've thought about like introducing or inviting onto a podcast, right? Things like that, where it's a softer ask and it's helping them if they're interested in building their brand. But it starts that genuine relationship with them and that connection, which is a better warm open.
Because you're also
very cool
presenting them with the benefit for themselves, as you mentioned. It's not just about you.
Yeah. You're not just, hey, let's connect on LinkedIn and then want to buy this? Let's talk. Let's schedule a call next week. Like, I still get that all the time on LinkedIn.
Me too.
Like I'll get completely bamboozled where somebody looks like they genuinely want to connect. And then the next day, thanks for connecting. Let's set up time to chat about how I can help you.
I just don't want that. And the follow-ups.
No.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Have you seen my message? Is it a good time now?
And then the breakup email, which apparently I'm seeing on LinkedIn statistically works in sales, but it's so cringy to me. Like when I get that guilt trip email of, oh, I'm going to take you off my list since you haven't responded. I'm like, I don't know how I ended up on your list to begin with. So go ahead, take me off. It's so funny because it goes back to what you were saying with being human, right? And so thinking about those moments that we're creating for our customers and genuine connections and what can we do to strengthen those and not just be selling all the time. I love this. I'm going to check out your Snacks Hub and explore.
Great.
Let's see. One last question if you have time. I know we're at the very end. If you could go back in time, just starting out in the world of CPG marketing, what would you tell your younger self just coming into marketing?
I thought about that a lot after seeing that. Honestly, I think I would say to do more networking. When you first start your career, you're just obsessed with delivering the operational stuff, perfecting those emails or follow-ups. Like, because when you're in marketing, you're always late to something and you're always, I remember back in Unilever, I was working crazy. I was leaving work around 1 a.m. and then coming back at 7 and I was still late for things. But I feel like I would say, okay, that's okay, but establish those relationships better with, for instance, agencies, with partners, with people that are within the company from different departments. So have your head up. So speak with more people, have a better network so that you can learn more from everyone. And those people can turn out to be, I don't know, partner opportunities in the future or people that you can just go and consult with. Because more and more I enter into the B2B world and more I try to invest in my personal brand. I feel like I disconnected with the CPG world too much. So that's why I would say keep up that network and foster those relationships, nurture those relationships more, and be more curious about people as well so that you can have that unique hook that you can speak with them later, that you can both benefit each other. So I think that would be
so true.
Something that I would tell myself.
Yeah. I love that. It's your network is your net worth, right? But even beyond that, just being so curious in what you can learn from your network is huge. That's a big reason I started this show too, is being able to meet people. And literally I have ideas written down on this piece of paper from chatting with you. So I just thank you. You've inspired me on this call and I hope the listeners as well. So thank you so much for joining me today and going a little over. I so appreciate it. Where can everybody connect with you, Irem?
They can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm always online. Okay, not
I'm
always,
waiting
but
I know, right? Almost always, right?
Almost always.
I'm waiting for someone to answer. Actually, you can find me on TikTok or Pinterest. Like it's always LinkedIn in our B2B marketing world, but it'll be funny.
TikTok. I try TikTok, but from company account, not from personal account. I'm a bit, I don't know. One day maybe, because I started videos, so maybe one day I will get that, let's say courage, that courage to be on TikTok as well. But right now,
do it. You have the videos, just post them and see how they go. You never know.
Yeah, you're right. I should be more courageous. You're right. Though.
Well, stay tuned, everyone. Maybe we'll find her on TikTok next. We'll see if we follow her on LinkedIn. So thank you so much for spending time with us. We learned so much. I appreciate it. And thank you
for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you love the show, connect with us on LinkedIn, DM us. We're happy to chat and connect. And also, please share with a friend, write a review, give us a 4-star rating or whatever you think is honest. And we appreciate it. It helps us grow our audience and our TAM. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.